Hi, I'm Raman Raheja, and I welcome you to 180 Not Out, a podcast where I talk to legends from the world of cricket and how the game has changed over 180 years since it started off its international journey. While having these conversations, the universe boss, Chris Gale, said that he has a complaint against the fans. Listen to him talk about it.
I know a lot of people don't talk about my test career, and to be able to play over 100 test matches, that's fantastic. 2 triple centuries as well, and then to be able to get a double, in a World Cup as well in the 50 over format, and then to be the first person to score a T20 100 as well. So overall, those 2 decades was actually fantastic. I had a great run.
You have heard it from the legend himself, a man who has a triple ton in tests, a double in ODIs, and the first T20 centurion. Universe boss Gale has been someone who was able to adapt from red ball to white ball with equal ease. But there's a big debate happening in world cricket today about format specializations. This episode is all about the conflict between red ball and white ball cricket. When the first game of cricket was played between the US and Canada in 1844, nobody watching it or playing it would have possibly imagined the fame that cricket would one day reach. Much has changed ever since. And perhaps the biggest signifier of this change is the white ball. Red ball cricket continues to be seen as the older, purer form of the game, dominated by classic shots and a methodical approach. While white ball limited overs cricket is the faster, younger version of the game, and rightly so too. Red ball cricket has been around since 1844 or probably even prior to that, while the white ball made its debut in the Rebel World Series of Kerry Packer in 1977 and has been around ever since then. From 60 over matches to 50 to 20 and now even 10 overs aside, the shift in the gears has been pretty rapid. The pace of the game has been changing. Here is what Boom Boom Shahid Afridi had to say about this change.
टाइम के साथ चीजों का चेंज होना वो इम्पोर्टेंट होता है. लाइफ फास्ट हो गई है पहले लाइफ बहुत स्लो थी, टाइम बहुत ज्यादा था, आपके पास मोबाइल्स वगैरह में ज्यादा, जिस तरह आज बिजी है पहले बिजी नहीं होते थे, तो लोगों के पास टाइम बहुत ज्यादा था. और उस वक्त मेरे ख्याल में 6 दिन की टेस्ट क्रिकेट भी होती थी. आज हम बात करते हैं क्या टेस्ट क्रिकेट भी 4 दिन की होनी चाहिए. और उस दिन ओवर्स मेरे ख्याल में जो हमने जब होस्ट संभाला तो उस वक्त 60 ओवर के मैचेस होते थे रेड बॉल से, एंड देन फिर उसको 50 ओवर आ गया. अब बात होती है कि वो 40 ओवर होनी चाहिए. तो चीजें वक्त के साथ साथ चेंज हो रही हैं, लेकिन अच्छा है, इट्स अ गुड चेंज. और क्योंकि हर चीज फरारी बन गई है, पोशे बन गई है, तो उस पेस के ऊपर जाने के लिए फिर आपको चीजों की पेस को चेंज करना पड़ता है. अब अगर जितने जो आपके नए बच्चे हैं उनको अगर देखें तो वो व्हाइट बॉल क्रिकेट समझ आती है उनको. तो मे बी आने वाले वक्त में जब नेक्स्ट 5 साल 10 साल में देखेंगे तो आई थिंक व्हाइट बॉल की क्रिकेट बहुत ज्यादा और बहुत फास्ट हो जाएगी. जैसे अभी देखें कि हमारे वक्त में इस टाइम पे T10 भी आ चुका है, तो क्या पता एक वक्त आएगा कि 5 ओवर के मैचेस भी होंगे, 100 बॉल शुरू हो गई. तो चेंज आ रहा है और चेंज कर रहे हैं लोग, नई चीज चाहते हैं, नए फॉर्मेट की तलाश में रहते हैं.
We are now at a time when format specialization has become a thing. There are players who play only red ball cricket, or we should say test matches. And then there are others who have molded themselves to play white ball cricket, further taking up 50 overs or the T20 games. This specialization is a new reality in cricket. But is this format specialization good for the game? In a conversation that I had with Irfan Pathan, he brings up a very interesting point. There isn't too much of a difference across the formats, but some players are making it look more difficult than it is. Listen to it from the swinging king himself.
आई थिंक कई लोगों ने अपने करियर बनाने के चक्कर में वो चीज़ों को मुश्किल बना दिया. इतना मुश्किल है नहीं. आप अगर देखेंगे तीनों कनेक्टेड है. T20 क्रिकेट में आपको पास इनोवेशन होना ज़रूरी है. आपके पास वो वाली स्किल होना ज़रूरी है. लेकिन वहाँ पे भी ना वो एंकर का रोल अभी भी मुझे लगता है कि एक खिलाड़ी का तो मौजूद है. वहीं पे आप वनडे क्रिकेट में देखें ना तो आप उस तरीके का प्लेयर भी सर्वाइव कर सकता है जो टेस्ट क्रिकेट खेलता है, उस तरीके का प्लेयर भी सर्वाइव कर सकता है जो T20 खेलता है, क्योंकि अलग अलग स्पॉट्स रहते हैं प्लेइंग 11 में. वहीं पे टेस्ट क्रिकेट अगर आप देखेंगे, आप हार्डली देखेंगे कि टेस्ट मैचेस ड्रॉ हो रहे हैं. आपको रिजल्ट मिल रहा है. इसका मतलब क्या है? हर कोई वो अंदाज में खेलना चाहता है जहाँ पे आपको एग्रेशन दिखाई दे और सब जीतना चाहते हैं. कोई ड्रॉ के लिए नहीं खेलना चाहता. और ड्रॉ अगर हो जाता है तो उसमें भी दे हैव टू प्ले आउट ऑफ द स्किन. कुछ अलग करना पड़ता है, तो वो भी एक अलग चैलेंज है. तो कहीं ना कहीं तार जुड़े हुए तीनों फॉर्मेट के. लेकिन मैं समझता हूँ क्योंकि बहुत सारे खिलाड़ी पूरे साल क्रिकेट खेलते हैं और वहाँ पे अपनी प्रायोरिटी को चेंज किया है कई खिलाड़ियों ने. मैं अगर उनकी जगह पे होता तो शायद मैं तीनों फॉर्मेट खेलता, क्योंकि मुझे उस तरीके से क्रिकेट का वो पसंद, वो बहुत ज़बरदस्त शौक़ है. लेकिन हर एक खिलाड़ी की एक अलग सोच है और उसके हिसाब से ना फिर वो अलग मार्केटिंग चलती है. हर एक की अपनी टीम है तो वहाँ से वो हिसाब चलता रहता है. तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ ऐसे चैलेंजेस है. एज लॉन्ग एज आप अपनी रिकवरी पे ध्यान देते हो तो आप तीनों फॉर्मेट खेल सकते हैं.
Irfan Pathan believes that the formats are somewhat interconnected. Another Indian cricketer, a teammate of Irfan Pathan, the legendary Indian off-spinner Harbhajan Singh, tells me that the batting and the bowling doesn't really change across the formats. It's the pace of the batting and the bowling that does. The Turbinator also tells me that it is more about the mind games now.
No, it was purely the mindset. You have to kind of adjust yourself into that gaming zone, that how you want to take your challenge. अगर T20 है तो उसकी जो bowling है, मैंने जैसे कहा कि bowling या बैटिंग वो चेंज नहीं हुई है, उसकी पेस चेंज हो गई है. अब कभी कभार हमें ऐसा लगता है कि जैसे मैं T20 खेल रहा हूँ तो मैं उसमें टेस्ट वाली गेंदबाजी नहीं कर सकता. ऐसा नहीं है. वो कभी कभार ऐसा थॉट्स आए वेयर आई स्टार्टेड bowling quick in the air, where I started bowling lot of Yorkers, and I somehow kind of forgot the art of spinning the ball. Batsmen was still getting out like a normal way. मुझे नहीं लगता है कि आउट होने के तरीके जो हैं वो चेंज हुए, तो फिर बॉलिंग क्यों चेंज करनी है? बैट्समैन ने तो आउट होना है. तो T20 हो, टेस्ट क्रिकेट हो, वनडे क्रिकेट हो, आपका माइंडसेट जो है वो चेंज होता है. मे बी टेस्ट मैच में आपको बल्लेबाज को पकाना पड़ता है. एक जगह पे आपको कई गेंद डालने पड़ते हैं ताकि वो वहाँ से गलती करे. वेयर इन 2020 या फिर इन वनडे क्रिकेट वो पीरियड जो है वो छोटा हो जाता है. द ओनली वे यू कैन कंटेन रन्स is by taking wicket.
Continuing on the same theme of mind games, listen to the legendary Courtney Walsh, one of the biggest names in the world cricket.
There's a mind game out there as well, but I think the talent still has a major part to play, because once you're talented, then you should be able to overcome. You should be strong enough, especially with what's happening with the outside world now with the mind games. You should be strong enough to overcome that. So I think you have to have some talent as well. But yes, if you're not strong-minded, then you could sort of probably get carried away or get outthought or whatever. But I think talent has a lot to play, and the mind should help that, not the other way around. Not the mind helping the talent with good sound mind. You should be all right.
During the recent Legends League cricket season, I was talking to the West Indian all-rounder Dwayne Smith, and he had a very interesting point, where he pointed out about the mindset doesn't really change. And sometimes it's all about love for the game. Listen to him.
I don't think my mindset changed. It was always set for playing for West Indies and representing a lot of people back home. So for me, it was always to play for West Indies, whether it's test match, one-day cricket, and then later on the T20 cricket. But obviously, we all know that it went in a different direction where I played more T20 cricket. But for me, I just love playing cricket, so whatever cricket I can play, even if it's a single wicket competition, I'll play.
One of the biggest effects of this widening of the gap between red ball and white ball cricket is visible when we look at format specialist players. Some of the cricketing icons struggle in the longer format of the game while they do it very well in the shorter format and the other way around as well. Here is what Indian star Pragyan Ojha had to say about specializing in a format.
मुझे लगता है कि हमेशा जो चीज़ इवॉल्व होती है तो उसके दोनों पहलू होते हैं। तो दोनों पहलू में आप कभी कहेंगे कि एक चीज़ शायद नेगेटिव लग सकती है या उसमें कुछ थोड़ा सा पॉजिटिव भी रह सकता है। आप देखते कैसे मॉडर्न डे क्रिकेट में मैं एक चीज़ कहूँगा, एक एडवांटेज ये है, मैं जब ग्रो हो रहा था मैंने देखा बच्चों को जो एक्चुअली रेड बॉल क्रिकेट में अपने आप को कभी वो ढांचे में डाल नहीं पाए, क्योंकि वो थोड़ा सा वो उनका बैट स्पीड या बॉलिंग स्टाइल थोड़ा सा वाइट बॉल क्रिकेट को फेवर करता था, लेकिन अपॉर्चुनिटी थी नहीं, तो शायद वो थोड़ा सा सेटल नहीं हो पाए। वही अगर आप यहाँ पे देखेंगे तो वाइट बॉल क्रिकेट में अभी आप देखेंगे बहुत धुरंधर प्लेयर्स आ रहे हैं, लेकिन अभी हम रेड बॉल क्रिकेट के लिए ढूंढ रहे हैं। तो ये चैलेंजेस रहेंगे क्योंकि क्रिकेट इवॉल्व हो रहा है, लड़के इवॉल्व हो रहे हैं, तो वो चैलेंज को आप कैसे बैलेंस करते हैं वो इम्पॉर्टेंट है। वहीं पे आप देखेंगे ना तो लड़कों को किस तरीके से आप लेके चलते हैं, आपका सिस्टम किस तरीके से बच्चों को संभाल के लेके चलता है वो इम्पॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि आप किसी को कह नहीं सकते कि नहीं आप ये फॉर्मेट नहीं खेल सकते। मुझे लगता है वो गलत होगा, लेकिन वो फॉर्मेट के साथ आप दूसरे फॉर्मेट को कैसे जोड़ सकते हैं वो इम्पॉर्टेंट है। कोई भी फ्रेंचाइजी क्रिकेट से किसी भी प्लेयर को ले लीजिए, आप उसकी जो प्रतिभा है वो देख सकते हैं, उसका जो कुछ स्पेशल अगर टैलेंट है वो दिख जाता है आपको, लेकिन अगर आपको लॉन्जिटिविटी चाहिए तो फिर आपको वो लंबा रास्ता पकड़ना पड़ता है, क्योंकि इंजरी के साथ कैसे जूझना है और जो आप फॉर्म से बाहर जाते हैं फिर फॉर्म में आते हैं किस तरीके से बैलेंस मेंटेन करना, ये सब चीज़ें आपको वो क्रिकेट सिखाती है। तो इसीलिए कहते हैं कि आप जो लाल बॉल होती है और जो सफ़ेद बॉल होती है दोनों के साथ खेलिए, दोनों के ऊपर आपका कंट्रोल रहना चाहिए, तभी आप लाइफ में सीखते हैं कि अगर आपके हित में कुछ नहीं जा रहा है तो आप कैसे बैलेंस मेंटेन कर सकते हैं।
Here is a Sri Lankan legend known for his white ball skills, Thisara Pereira, talking about how he picked up the white ball cricket as a specialization for himself.
Actually, I just want to say because I retired very earlier in my test cricket because I played only 6 matches. Then after that I concentrate to my white ball cricket because of my natural batting style, and I'm just trying to hit very hard, so that's why I retired from test cricket. I'll 200% commitment to my white ball cricket, so it's good for me and it's really succeed for my life. So I think so as a white ball cricketer, so I'm really happy to play again and again only white ball cricket. As a youngster, you should start from test cricket. That's the main our heart. I think so. Everyone should play test cricket. Then after that, you can decide what you have to do. As a white ball cricketer or test cricketer. So, but you can think after when you play after 2-3 years. So what I did, so I start my career 2009. Then after that I retire from my test career 2013, 2014. So then after that I'll completely focus to my white ball cricket. Now, so these days the youngsters they are choosing no I'm playing only white ball cricket and no I'm playing test cricket. So but so many people choose white ball cricket only.
Growing up as a fan watching the sport on my TV screen, I have often wondered what it takes when these players switch from one format to another. How does someone like Kevin Peterson, who's played hundreds of these matches across all the formats, shift it from one to another? Here is KP himself answering the questions for me.
I think mentally you just got to adapt, and I think that you've got to have a plan for each format. I certainly had a plan for each format. Test cricket, you just bat for as long as you can. I always used to say to myself, try and get to 10 in test match cricket, no matter how long it took you. Get to 10 and get a feel of the wicket and just get a feel of the pace of the game. So walking out to bat, it was all about just understanding the circumstances of the situation of the test match and then trying to get to 10. However quick or however slow, I got to 10. Sometimes I got there fairly quickly and I thought, wow, okay, I'm in, I'm feeling really good. And sometimes it took a little bit longer. But that was okay because it was the longer it took, the more I felt like I was getting into the game and I was starting to find matchups. In one-day internationals, again, it was getting to 10, but getting to 10 a little bit quicker. Getting to 10, hitting sweepers harder. I always used to talk to myself about hitting sweepers harder. So hitting the ball. And then T20 cricket, it was about facing 10 deliveries. So T20 cricket was all about facing those 10 balls.
While the game is getting shorter and newer formats are coming in, many still consider red ball cricket or test cricket as the holy grail of the sport. For most of the 180 years of international cricket's journey, test matches were the norm and white ball cricket was an exception. The balance, however, has changed of late with the other way round. But red ball cricket has its hardcore followers. In my conversation with Tilak Ratne Dilshan, he tells me about how test cricket can help a cricketer learn from the game better than any other format.
I feel a little bit bad for youngsters. A lot of youngsters following T10 and now T20, but I still am advised to youngsters stick to the long game. There's different feeling in your test match. When you test match all 5 days, we fighting for the 5 days. Play test cricket, then you learn a lot. Then shorter format we can finish quicker, but longer format we can learn a lot. I also start test cricket, then I performed there, then I had opportunity to play one days, bat or number 1 to number 8, number 9, I batted all position batting. But my advice to youngsters to just follow test cricket. That's you can learn a lot from test cricket. Then you can adjust T20 and T10 quickly, but difficult to adjust for test cricket. If you are the good test player, you can handle that 5 days pressure, win the match, and that player can be a better player in T20 and T10.
Many hardcore fans of the game do back this view up. Events such as the Ashes, the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and now the World Test Championship continue to infuse excitement in Test cricket. In fact, with limited overs cricket and especially T20s getting really popular, it feels like the pace of Test cricket has also picked up. Here is what Shahid Afridi told me about that.
टेस्ट क्रिकेट भी चेंज हुई है. आप देखिए ज्यादातर टेस्ट मैचेस के जो रिजल्ट है वो 4 दिन के अंदर आ जाते हैं. और मेरे ख्याल में क्योंकि वनडे और T20 के आने से टेस्ट क्रिकेट बहुत तेज हो गई है. अब पूरा दिन बैट्समैन बॉल छोड़ के नहीं खेलता, लेफ्ट नहीं करता, उसे जहां उसके एरिया में बॉल मिलता है वो मारता है. और बॉलर भी अब कंटिन्यू एक जगह पे बॉल नहीं करता, वो भी विकेट लेने के लिए आगे बॉल करता है, ये पीछे बाउंसर करता है, जिसमें बैट्समैन के पास इतनी स्किल्स आ गई कि वो शॉट्स की तरफ जाता है. अब क्रिकेटर्स क्योंकि रेड बॉल, व्हाइट बॉल और T20 की वजह से टेस्ट क्रिकेट में जो भी क्रिकेटर आपको नजर आएगा वो एग्रेसिव खेलते हुए नजर आएगा. वो अब टाइम नहीं जाया करता, वो चाहता है कि 4 दिन के अंदर रिजल्ट आए और क्राउड भी आता है. क्राउड को एंटरटेन भी करना है आपने.
While there is indeed a lot of prestige and legacy that is attached with Test cricket, I also believe that it should not lead to a prejudice against players who are more into the white ball cricket version of the game. After all, there's a whole generation of players who are growing up on ODIs and another generation that is growing up to T20 cricket, thanks to IPL and the BBLs of the world gaining popularity. It would be interesting to see how Gen Next sees red ball cricket. While Test cricket has retained a niche for itself, it is the ODIs which seem to be falling out of favor with the modern day cricket viewers. With the Test matches bringing an excitement of classic shots and the ups and downs across 4 innings, on the other hand, T20s bringing in big hits and quicker results, one-day matches seem to be losing some steam. ODIs becoming heavily one-sided doesn't help the cause either. And this is what the legendary Hashim Amla spoke about it.
Yeah, Rambai, I think you've touched it. It has seemed like it's gone a bit slower. And I think suddenly past the power play phases that we know about between overs 10 and 40, the game seems to have gone slower. But as we saw in this World Cup, there were some teams that were scoring 400 and India were one of them, scoring really big totals. Of of course, the con to something like that, it becomes very difficult to chase down, and you don't really get many close games or many close finishes. So the game has slowed down, and but in the same token, because of T20 cricket, the skills of the batsmen have risen, and it seems to be keep rising, which is amazing, and that's contributed to the scores in one-day cricket. Where's one-day cricket going from here? It's going to be a tough one to see, as I said, because you get scores of 400 plus and 370.
The game is getting younger, and the ODIs seem to be caught in a midlife crisis. It certainly requires some innovations. Recently, Sachin Tendulkar had suggested 2 innings in each of the ODI matches. And in 2023, the MCC suggested that men's bilateral ODI matches need to be limited following the 2027 World Cup. Such suggestions coming from the legendary Master Blaster himself and a prestigious cricketing body like MCC, it does raise alarming concerns about the future of ODIs. Listen to veteran sports journalist Poonam Mehra talking about it.
The World Cup was a very interesting case where fans showed up, there was a lot of excitement, the cricket itself was very good. But obviously for bilateral ODI cricket, there is lack of audience, lack of interest overall. So that dichotomy is there. And I personally have always felt that ODIs won't be able to survive. That cricket will be limited to Test and T20 cricket eventually, and ODIs will die their own slow death, which is, I guess, happening also. But then last year, I read about MCC coming up with a very nice suggestion from the Mike Gatting-led committee, which they said that probably ODIs can just be limited to a World Cup, and with 1 year of one-day cricket, bilateral cricket preceding that. So that kind of piqued my interest. I felt that, okay, this is an interesting solution being provided, and personally I felt that this is something that can be worked out, which is more workable. But given that all the scheduling and the complexities of the Future Tours program, how it will be done is something that the administrators will have to get their heads together and figure out. But yes, an interesting solution. But if you leave that aside, I personally believe ODIs won't be able to survive. At least the bilateral cricket will not survive, because you won't have the audience, you won't have the viewers, and it is difficult for any sport to survive without that heartbeat, which you call the fans.
The shorter formats of the game, specifically T20 cricket, bring in not only the big hits, but the big bucks as well. In fact, in the previous episode, we talked about the influx of money that leagues like IPL are bringing in. With media rights touching north of $6 billion, IPL and thereafter T20 cricket has everything working for it at the moment. But could the games get even shorter? There has been a buzz about the T10 format. But could this T10 idea be the direction where the future of the sport is going to be? Here is what Poonam had to say about it.
Personally, I think it should not. I think it should stop at T20, because then probably you will end up trivializing the sport to an extent. People will start not taking the sport as seriously. If you have just too many things happening all around, you have to have some kind of sanctity attached to a sport at one level, because the joke doing the rounds now is that what is going to be next, just the toss of the coin to decide who will win. So you don't, I believe we should not keep shortening it. T20 and Test are just perfect for ICC to build on, expand the game. T20 is what will help if ICC expand the game, and Test cricket is obviously the backbone. It's the format. You cannot walk away with it. And the World Test Championship has added a lot of context to the format, and that has been a brilliant move to save five-day format. T20s should be the last, I believe. I don't think we should move towards T10s or T5s. But yes, I do see that T10 has found a bit of an acceptance as far as the online audience is concerned. People are a little interested. So maybe they will find a foothold for themselves. But I don't think we should push it beyond that. That will affect the sanctity of the sport.
For now, however, T20 cricket seems to be on its way to becoming the dominant format in world cricket. Here is what Australian finisher Michael Bevan has to say about the future of T20 cricket.
The advent of T20 cricket has been good in the sense that it's introduced a new fan base to the game. It's introduced players that would not have normally played into the game, but it also competes. It competes with 50 over games, it competes with Test cricket. And I think we're already finding now and seeing that young players have a bias for the shorter version of the game and really want to play the shorter version of the game. So maybe slowly but surely, I think that format will become the dominant format, and maybe the reasons why it hasn't become the dominant format so far is maybe TV rights, maybe because the cricket boards have monopolies where they control which cricket is played, but I think if you ask fans and I think if you ask young players, they're definitely moving towards that T20 space, for sure.
Before I conclude, I would like to leave you with a line from an all-time classic from the great Bob Dylan, which fits the theme of this episode just so well. I'm sure you can guess by now which iconic song I'm talking about. The times they are a-changing. This is an anthem for change, and cricket has been going through a monumental change over the decades as it evolves to meet the need of modern day audiences. Alright, that was it from this week's episode of 180 Not Out. How do you view this shift in the game? Are you a red ball person or a white ball person? Or like me, a fan of every kind of cricket out there? Do let us know your thoughts on social media. You can follow us on 180 Not Out on all social media accounts. That's 180 Not Out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'm Raman Raheja, and I'll see you next week as we discuss batting and whether the modern day game of cricket is heavily skewed in favor of the batters. Make sure to tune in to 180 Not Out every Monday on Spotify, JioSaavn, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from.
From humble beginnings, it started as a game. A bat, a ball, a field, and players with no fame. But little did they know, cricket would soon ignite a passion that would last through day and night. 180 not out, we're going strong. 180 not out, the game goes on.